The day I lost everything started with a smile. Not my smile, his. The smile of a man who believed he had finally won. My name is Sarah Bennett, and 5 years ago, I sat across from a conference table watching my boss destroy everything I had spent years building. What he didn't know was that his greatest mistake wasn't firing me. His greatest mistake was underestimating me. If you enjoy emotional stories about betrayal, success, and shocking comebacks, subscribe and stay until the end. Because this story proves that sometimes the people counted out the fastest become the ones nobody can stop. When I joined Parker Industries, I was 26 years old, ambitious, hardworking, hungry to prove myself. I wasn't born into wealth. I didn't have connections. I didn't have family members opening doors for me. Everything I achieved came from long nights, sacrifice, and determination. For 6 years, I gave that company everything. Weekends, holidays, late nights, early mornings. I missed birthdays, vacations, family events, because I believed hard work would eventually pay off. And for a while it did. Promotions came, raises followed, managers praised me, clients trusted me. My future looked bright. Then Richard Parker arrived, the owner's son, 38 years old, expensive suits, perfect smile, unlimited confidence, the type of man who had never been told no. The company welcomed him like a future king. Employees praised him, executives admired him, investors celebrated him. I wasn't impressed, because within weeks I realized something important. Richard wasn't talented, he was entitled. There is a difference. A very big difference. Talented people earn respect. Entitled people expect it. At first, our relationship remained professional. Then everything changed. One afternoon, I presented a strategy that could save the company millions of dollars. I spent months preparing it. Research, data, market analysis, everything. The board loved it. Investors loved it. Everyone loved it. A week later, Richard presented the exact same strategy. As his own. The board applauded. Executives congratulated him. And nobody mentioned my name. I sat there in complete shock. Surely someone would speak up. Nobody did. That was the first time he stole my work. It wouldn't be the last. Months passed. The pattern continued. Every time I created something valuable, Richard somehow received the credit. Every promotion he received seemed connected to work I had done. At first, I blamed politics. Then I discovered the truth. Someone inside my department was leaking information directly to him. Everything I created reached his desk before anyone else's. The realization made me sick. I wasn't competing fairly. The game was rigged from the beginning. Still, I kept working. Because I believed eventually the truth would come out. I was wrong. One morning, I arrived at work expecting another normal day. Instead, security was waiting. My office key no longer worked. My system access had been disabled. My phone stopped functioning. Confused, I contacted Human Resources. Minutes later, I was sitting inside a conference room. Richard sat across from me, smiling. That same smile, the one I still remember. Then came the accusation. They claimed confidential information had been leaked. Sensitive company documents, financial reports, internal records. According to them, I was responsible. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was absurd, ridiculous, completely false. Yet every piece of evidence somehow pointed toward me. Emails, reports, system logs, everything appeared real. Someone had framed me. And deep down, I already knew who. Richard. But knowing and proving are two different things. Within 30 minutes, my career was over. Security escorted me from the building. Employees watched. Some whispered. Others stared. Nobody defended me. Nobody asked questions. The woman who had spent 6 years helping build the company was suddenly treated like a stranger. A problem. An embarrassment. A cautionary tale. As I carried a small cardboard box toward the parking lot, I looked back one final time. That's when I saw him. Standing inside the glass lobby, watching, smiling. He thought I was finished. He thought he had won. And at that moment, I almost believed him. But life was about to take a turn neither of us could imagine. Because losing my job wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning. And 5 years later, that same company would belong to me. But before that happened, everything had to fall apart. For the first few weeks after losing my job, I barely left my apartment. Every morning felt the same. I would wake up hoping everything had been a nightmare. Then reality would hit me again. No job, no income, no reputation, no future. At least that's what it felt like. The hardest part wasn't losing the paycheck. It was losing my identity. For 6 years, Parker Industries had been my life, and now it was gone. Whenever I applied for jobs, companies asked the same question. Why did you leave your previous position? The moment they heard the answer, their attitude changed. Calls stopped, emails disappeared, opportunities vanished. Months passed. My savings shrank, bills piled up, fear became my daily companion. For the first time in years, I began questioning myself. Maybe Richard had won. Maybe he really had destroyed everything. One rainy evening, I sat in my tiny apartment staring at unpaid bills. The silence felt heavy. Then my phone rang. It was an old client named Michael. Years earlier, I had helped his company solve a major problem. We hadn't spoken in a long time. After a short conversation, he asked something unexpected. Sarah, would you be interested in consulting for us? At first, I thought he was joking. Nobody wanted to hire me. Why would he? Then he said something I never forgot. The smartest people in business know the difference between rumors and results. For the first time in months, someone believed in me. I accepted immediately. That small consulting project changed everything. The company wasn't large, the paycheck wasn't impressive, but it gave me something far more valuable. A chance. And sometimes one chance is all you need. Over the next year, I worked harder than ever before. Not because I wanted revenge, because I wanted survival. Every client became important. Every project mattered. Every opportunity counted. Slowly, my reputation began recovering. People started talking. Not about the accusations, about the results. The companies I worked with improved. Sales increased. Profits grew. Clients recommended me to others. Then something unexpected happened. A group of investors contacted me. They had noticed my work, and they had an idea. They wanted to build a consulting company around my strategies. At first, the idea terrified me. Start a company? Me? I had never imagined it. But after several meetings, I realized something. For years, I had been helping other people build successful businesses. Maybe it was time to build my own. 3 months later, Bennett Strategic Solutions officially opened. The office was tiny. The budget was limited. The future was uncertain. But it was mine. Every success belonged to me. Every failure belonged to me. And for the first time in my career, nobody could steal my work. The first year was difficult. The second year was better. By the third year, things changed dramatically. Large companies started calling. National clients appeared. Revenue exploded. New employees joined every month. The business grew faster than anyone expected, including me. Then one morning, while reviewing market news, I saw a familiar headline. Parker Industries faces major financial challenges. I stared at the screen, surprised, then curious. The article explained everything. Poor leadership, bad investments, lost contracts, declining profits, investor concerns. The company was struggling, and at the center of every decision was Richard Parker, the same man who once acted like a genius, the same man who took credit for other people's work, the same man who believed success was guaranteed. For the first time, I wasn't angry. I was simply observing, because reality was finally doing what I never could, exposing the truth. Months later, another article appeared, then another, then another. The situation became worse. Investors lost confidence. Executives resigned. Important clients left. The company began shrinking. Every headline told the same story. Parker Industries was in trouble. Meanwhile, Bennett Strategic Solutions continued growing. New offices opened. New partnerships formed, new investors arrived. The contrast felt surreal. 5 years earlier, I had been unemployed. Now business magazines were interviewing me. Industry conferences invited me to speak. People wanted my advice. The same world that once ignored me now listened carefully whenever I spoke. One afternoon, my chief financial officer entered my office. His expression seemed unusual, excited, concerned, curious, all at once. Then he placed a report on my desk. I opened it and immediately froze. The report concerned Parker Industries, specifically, its possible sale. I looked up slowly. "What exactly am I looking at?" He smiled. "An opportunity." My heart started beating faster. For several seconds, I couldn't speak. The company that fired me, the company that destroyed my reputation, the company Richard believed would always belong to him, was now searching for buyers, and for the first time. A crazy thought entered my mind. What if I bought it? Not for revenge, not for pride, for business. Because despite its problems, Parker Industries still possessed valuable assets, strong infrastructure, good employees, excellent potential. The company wasn't broken. It had simply been mismanaged. The more I studied the numbers, the more obvious it became. This wasn't just an opportunity. It was the opportunity. But there was one problem. Richard Parker. Because if this deal happened, everything he thought he controlled would suddenly belong to me. And I had a feeling he wasn't going to accept that easily. What I didn't know was that the biggest confrontation of our lives was now only weeks away. And when it finally happened, neither of us would ever forget it. For weeks, negotiations continued. Lawyers worked around the clock. Investors reviewed documents. Board members held emergency meetings. And throughout the entire process, one name kept appearing in every discussion. Richard Parker. The man who once controlled everything. The man who believed nobody could touch him. The man who thought I was finished. Unfortunately for him, the situation had changed. A lot. One morning, my legal team called. The acquisition was ready. All signatures were complete. All approvals were secured. The deal was done. Bennett Strategic Solutions officially owned Parker Industries. For several seconds, I simply stared out my office window. 5 years. 5 long years. 5 years since I walked out carrying a cardboard box. 5 years since people whispered behind my back. 5 years since Richard smiled while security escorted me from the building. And now, I owned the company. But strangely, I didn't feel excited. I felt calm. Because somewhere along the journey, this had stopped being about revenge. It had become about proving something to myself, that I wasn't who they said I was, that failure wasn't permanent, that one bad chapter doesn't define an entire life. A week later, I returned to Parker Industries. The same building, the same lobby, the same glass doors. Even the receptionist's desk looked familiar. As I entered, employees turned their heads. Some recognized me immediately. Others only knew my name from company news. But everyone understood one thing. The woman who was once fired now owned the building. Life changes quickly. The board meeting began at 10 o'clock. Every executive was present. Every board member attended. And sitting near the far end of the table was Richard. For the first time in my life, he looked nervous. Gone was the confidence. Gone was the arrogance. Gone was the smile. Reality had finally arrived. The meeting started. Reports were presented. Financial updates were discussed. Future plans were outlined. Then eventually, everyone became quiet, because they knew the moment was coming. Richard slowly looked toward me. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Then he finally said, "I never thought I'd see this day." His voice sounded different, older, tired, defeated. I looked at him calmly. Neither did I. The room remained silent. Richard lowered his eyes. For a moment, he seemed like a completely different person. Then something unexpected happened. He asked a question, a genuine question. "Why did you come back?" Many people expected a dramatic answer. a revenge speech, a victory celebration. But my answer surprised everyone. I didn't come back for revenge. The room became even quieter. I continued. I came back because this company still has good people working here. I looked around the table. People who deserve better leadership. Then I looked directly at Richard. You spent years protecting your position. I paused. But great leaders don't protect positions. They protect people. Nobody said a word, because everyone knew it was true. For years, Richard had viewed the company as something he owned, something that existed to serve him. Meanwhile, he ignored the employees, ignored innovation, ignored responsibility, and eventually, the consequences arrived. That afternoon, Richard officially stepped down. Not because I forced him, because there was no other choice. The board had already made its decision. As he left the conference room, he stopped near the door. Then he turned toward me. For a brief moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, he nodded. Not a proud nod, not a confident nod, a respectful nod. The kind people give when reality forces them to acknowledge the truth. Then he walked away. And just like that, a chapter of my life ended. Months passed. The company improved. Employees returned. Clients regained confidence. Profits increased. The culture changed. For the first time in years, people felt hopeful. One afternoon, I walked through the office and noticed something. Employees were smiling, talking, working together. The atmosphere felt different, healthier, stronger. And in that moment, I realized something important. Success isn't buying a company. Success isn't becoming rich. Success isn't proving people wrong. Success is becoming the person you needed when nobody believed in you. That evening, I drove home thinking about everything that had happened. The humiliation, the betrayal, the fear, the loneliness. All of it had felt unbearable at the time. But every painful moment had pushed me forward. Every setback had taught me something. Every closed door had redirected me toward a better opportunity. And if I could speak to the woman carrying that cardboard box 5 years earlier, I would tell her something simple. Don't quit. Don't give up. Don't believe every opinion people have about you. Because the people who underestimate you today cannot see the person you're becoming tomorrow. Before I end this story, I want to ask you something. Have you ever had someone tell you that you weren't good enough? Have you ever been counted out, ignored, rejected? If you have, remember this story. Because life can change faster than you think. And sometimes the person they call a failure today becomes the person leading tomorrow. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more emotional stories about betrayal, resilience, and unbelievable comebacks. And remember, never let someone else's opinion become your future. The end.